Welcome to the channel, friends. So today's video is going to be covering the install of a Pioneer head unit on a C6 Corvette ZR1 and what's needed and kind of what the process entails. It looks like a lot of stuff, but it's kind of a simple install. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what you need. You're going to need the head unit of your choice. I went with a Pioneer mainly because it's a high quality head unit and it has wireless CarPlay or Google Play, whatever you want to call it. I tend to like Alpine head units, but the Alpine required you to plug it into the phone to have a wired CarPlay or Google Play. So I want to go all wireless with this car. I want to be able to get in to the vehicle and have the phone connect like it does in my truck. I don't want to have to plug anything in unless I have to charge the phone. So I want to make it as simple as possible for me to get in and out of the car. So that's what I went with. I went with the Pioneer. So I'll give it a try, see how it works. If it doesn't work that great, I'll go with the Alpine. But the Alpine has a couple drawbacks. It doesn't have as nice of an equalizer as this guy here. And like I said, it has to have a wired CarPlay attachment. So basically you have to plug in your phone, which kind of sucks. But moving along, you need to get yourself basically an interface which comes with all the wiring for the car side. Now this is a interface that keeps the steering wheel controls. This is used for the non-amplified and amplified system. This is a PAC RP5-GM11. That's the part number. Alright, so that there will take care of your steering wheel controls, retain that, and give you all the connections. Especially on the 2012 and 2013, you have a auxiliary input and a USB in your center console. Previous years don't have that, so only the last 2 years of the C6 have that. This should retain that. I did have to buy an adapter for it, which is right here through Amazon, as well as an adapter for the radio. So this already has the dash kit on it. I bought this 90-degree connector, which goes from USB-C to a mini USB, which is what's used on the vehicle side. So to retain that USB port that's in your center console, some of you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. You have to purchase an adapter because it's USB-C. So I'll put that stuff in the description below, the Amazon links, what I used. But here is the radio. This is the mechanical-less setup, which means it has not as big as an amplifier attached to the head unit, so that's why it's so slim and shallow. I will be utilizing the Bose amplifier, and hopefully that's a good enough sound for me, but I'm not going to upgrade any of the amplifier or speakers at the moment right now. I'm just going to go with the head unit. But very simple. That's the dash kit, attaches to the head unit. Comes with everything you need. You know, this is all the radio stuff. This is the head unit that I chose. It was the 4660. Couple added features to that versus the standard 4600. I'm not going to really go over that. This is the dash kit. So that's the part number. And here is the original stereo. Let's take a shot of the back side first. Flip it around. This is your standard navigation unit you see in the C6s. Part number. So that's pretty much what you're going to need. You're going to need to solder all these wires together, get everything situated. There's a lot of stuff here, a lot of wiring. I'm not going to lie to you. But I'm going to go ahead and also wire up my Raptor shift light at the same time. So we'll be making connections to the radio harness just because it's easier. Power, ground, and vehicle speed sensor, which is necessary for the launch mode. So I'll be utilizing a couple pigtails off of here for that shift light install. That'll be a separate video. But since I have everything apart, I'm going to do it at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead now and start taking up stuff apart on the car and then kind of show you guys what the process looks like along the way. Alright guys, so welcome back. I'm here a week later and I want to give you guys an update of what's going on. I ordered a backup camera, so I'm waiting for that. That's why everything is still apart. But I'm going to take the time right now and discuss some of the issues I had with this, installing the wiring harness, and noise issues I had. Now, the noise issues I had were my fault, and I'm going to discuss why they came about, and it's because I had two issues. So one issue was this harness right here, where it goes to the amplified or non-amplified, output of the pack unit, the interface for the steering wheel control. Now, I had this in the non-amplified. It's supposed to be in the amplified. I have a Bose amplified system in this ZR1. So, if you guys wondering, you want it connected to the amplified output, that will get rid of all the extra hiss, that noise floor. There's like that lot of background noise that was present when I had the actual radio turned on. It just seemed like the gain was up too high. There was a lot of background noise coming from all speakers, and it was driving me nuts. It sounded like the volume was up too high. The level output was too high. But that was solved by switching this to the amplified output if you have a Bose system that's amplified in the car. I think all C6s have that. So that was one issue. That solved that crazy hissing noise I was getting. It just sounded like, excessive noise. Then the second issue was I was having crackling and popping and random static noises coming from the back and rear speakers. Now, that was my fault. But what it was is the radio harness, I had the green speaker lead connected to the parking brake wire. Now, it was very easy to, mismatch those because they were a very similar shade of green. And all I did was go back over all my wires, make sure everything was connected properly, and then I figured out that I had the parking brake wire swapped with one of the speaker leads. So once I fixed that, there was no more popping and crackling and random static noises coming from the rear speakers. Now the radio works perfect. There's no noise. Everything functions, and it's peace and quiet when you have the volume all the way down, or the source off, or the radio off completely. So that was driving me crazy. I had to do some looking. So I decided to just kind of update you guys and let you know what are the common pitfalls, because it's very common. They really don't discuss. It's not very intuitive which one of these speaker line outputs this is supposed to go to from the radio side here. So you definitely want it in the amplified. It doesn't do any damage by going between both of them and checking out which one sounds better. You'll know right off the bat which one sounds better, and that's the selection you need for your car, because one's going to be louder and one's going to be full of noise, and one's going to be actually what you need, so it's going to sound just right. So at the same time of me doing this, I installed a Raptor shift light. So if you want to check out that video, go right ahead. But I basically wired up the power and ground here and got the vehicle speed and the tack wire off the backside of the instrument cluster, which required all of this to be disassembled and taken out, which was kind of a pain in the ass, but that's the only way of doing it besides going to all the way to underneath the fender and taking that off to get to the ECU. So I'm just waiting for the backup camera, gonna see how I like it. I'm not too fond of mounting that on the bumper underneath near the license plate lights, but I'm gonna do it because this head unit has that functionality and I'd like to take advantage of that. So I'll fast forward to that. Last clip of the video will be the overall presentation, including the backup camera, if I decide to go with that, and showing the radio working, and my final thoughts. Alright guys, so I went ahead and took care of the backup camera. That's all working now. I figured everything out, and figured out how I wanted my placement back here, and I'll show you. That's where it is. Right here is a aluminum rivet that I drilled out, and then I installed the camera in its place. So that's part of the fastener that's holding in this lock cylinder here. So you're gonna have to basically drill that out carefully, install that, run the wire up through here, go through the grommet that's already in the firewall. Sorry, not the firewall, the back side of the chassis here. And there's a big generous grommet, as you can see, And right here is the lead for power and ground. Your power is going to be that solid green wire that's like a lighter green color, and then your black wire is ground. But make sure you double check that with a multimeter and test for ground and power when the reverse lights are switched on. I was able to do that with just switching on the key switch on the ignition and checking that for voltage. So that's the simple kind of tie-in there. It's all within this wire harness right here. Very simple. I made my connection right here so you can't really see it, but this is what goes to the reverse lights, power and ground, and then this is the line for my camera that goes out to the front, to the head unit. So that is the back end. I'm really happy with the alignment. I checked out the alignment. Everything's good now. And took care of that. And as you can notice, I took out the center console here, the upper portion, because I want to wire in the USB and the auxiliary properly. So the stock auxiliary port was not working. It did not want to work with the interface, the head unit, anything I tried. So I'll show you what I did. All right, so here is the factory center console, the upper piece. Now, this is the wiring that I took out. This is the auxiliary and the USB that goes to the head unit, the original factory head unit. Now, I could not get this to work for the life of me. I don't know what it is. I bought all the proper connectors for this mini USB and tried everything out. I just could not get it to work. I have no idea why. So I got frustrated and I ended up ordering something off of Amazon, which is right here. This came with the head unit. But essentially, it's a whole new replacement that goes up here. So I put this unit here because I want to retain this power outlet here. And also, if you put this newer piece on this side, which is on the center console, you're not going to be able to assemble the radio and the console at the same time. It's kind of awkward because you have to put this on last. And if you have this attached, which has to be connected to the radio beforehand, it's going to be a huge issue. It's not going to be possible. So what I did was I basically replaced the factory location with the new piece. So I have a USB 3.0 and a 3.5 millimeter jack here for auxiliary, and now it will both go to the head unit, and it will tie in just like factory. And this has a nice little cap that can close, and I still have this here for some extra USBs if I want to. So let me show you. The underside is very simple. Basically routed it just like factory. I went ahead and tightened this up, and then I added some Gorilla Glue on that so it doesn't move over time. Fastened my wires and had them come out just like they did on the factory routing. So these are a little bit short. These are 3 foot long. So I ordered adapters that are 1 foot. That's going to come out the back side of the radio and come down and connect to these, because these themselves do not have enough length. So keep that in mind. You will have to buy a 1 foot extension for this. I have those coming. I'm going to go ahead and list all these products that I'm using for this install below the video, so check that out. So I'll post this, the adapters, anything else I think is important, the camera that I used. You know, it also comes in black and chrome and a couple other colors, I think. But I went with a white one, obviously, because I have a white car. So I just wanted to give you guys an update to show you in detail what I'm doing with my center console and how I'm routing these wires, because, you know, it's a little confusing because none of this stuff really wants to work well with the factory stuff. So it's kind of pissing me off. It's taking a little bit longer than usual, but I'm not driving the car, so it really doesn't matter. So let me go ahead and get this all put back together, and then I'll give you guys a nice kind of recap summary of the whole install and what I think. Alright guys, so I just want to wrap up the video. Everything is plugged in, everything works now, radio is mounted. I'm going to leave the center console piece off for now because I want to mess with this MGW shifter. I'm going to be doing the anti-venom mod. But radio works, everything sounds great. Steering wheel controls work as they should. I went ahead and installed that USB and auxiliary port right here instead of in this location like I've been mentioning. And the adapter that I used from Amazon did not work. I had to actually use what came with the Pioneer radio, hooked it up to the USB, and now I can plug in my phone and have my actual CarPlay either wired or wireless. So that's one good thing about this radio, and that's the reason why I chose this, is because I can have the CarPlay wireless, which is most likely the option I'm going to be using. But I have that option of plugging it in, and it actually works better with the steering wheel controls. I will say that. Something I noticed is when it's plugged in, you can fast forward and go backwards on the tracks, and it's immediate. When it's in wireless mode, there's some lag on the forward and back, but the volume is fine. It's weird, but just one little thing I noticed. But both options are there, wired or wireless. That's one good thing about this Pioneer radio. So everything is pretty much done, including the backup camera. So now I can peep the back side of the car and not have to worry that I'm going to hit something, hit a curb or anything. So I can get pretty close. I can add my distance guidelines there if I want to take them off or keep them on. That's a good thing. But backup camera is something new for this car. That's going to be awesome. I can't wait to use that out. So everything works like it should. So happy that this is done. And I just wanted to put out some tips and tricks for you guys on installing the radio in the C6, in particular a 2012 ZR1. So that's going to be it for the video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed the video. And if you have any questions or comments, please go ahead and place them right down below. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.